morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
A dominant performance and a miscalculated fuel strategy marked the races of our two championship leaders as Hugh Haycox and Javier Del Olmo took home the wins in their respective classes. But that was at the Red Bull Ring. Will Hugh's streak of wins continue? Will Yuko Lesko's luck rebound? And who will be able to conquer the carnage carnival that is Summit Point? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Camel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using his cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Summit Point has always been a struggle for this multi-dimensional, multi-class series, and to find out what makes traffic at this place so hard to manage, let's head down to our track guide.
Welcome to Summit Point Raceway. Once the stomping grounds of IMSA and Trans Am vehicles thundering through the West Virginia mountains, this circuit is now mainly used for club racing and performance driver training. Situationed a couple hours west of Washington, D.C., there are actually two entirely separate circuits that can be tackled here on the iRacing service. The main circuit is just shy of 2 miles in length, including 10 turns, and can be chopped off into the short version, which has 9 turns and only 1.5 miles for a lap. The Jefferson Circuit is its own 1.1 mile piece of pavement with a mere 7 turns and uniquely can be run in reverse. Both tracks are astonishingly narrow and provide quite a technical challenge. On the main course, the most popular place to pass is down into the first corner hairpin. While some drivers may try a brave dive into turn 5, the frighteningly fast-kinked entry makes it prone to things going wrong quickly. Between there and turn 9, it's essentially a single-file affair with nothing but tight and twisty bends snaking their way around. The Jefferson Circuit isn't used as often, and because there are a few straights long enough to get a run on someone, most drivers are forced to wait for a mistake to pounce on. Otherwise, qualifying will be key. Believe it or not, IMSA's GT class raced here in the late 80s, and even Can-Am stopped in back in 86. While it probably sees much more competition here in the virtual world, it's easy to see why plenty of real drivers love to take their vehicles out to try and tackle this historic Appalachian venue.
Well, there we saw a nice track guide, but Joey, why don't you talk to us about what the Audis and the GTPs will be handling around this track today?
Yeah, like we saw, we are here at Summit Point Raceway in Summit Point, West Virginia. We're going to be racing the full layout today, 10 turns, 1.98 miles in length. And most importantly, you touched on it earlier, Adam, this racetrack is really more of a grassroots style, not suited for multi-class series. It gets very narrow, especially through the chute and the carousel. Maybe a few yard sales that are going to happen down there, but you got to pick your moves. Controlled aggression is what I like to call it. It's going to be a 40-minute race out there that everybody's going to have to battle tonight. But before we get into any action on track, let's go ahead and take a look at this championship battle that's been going on.
Yeah, absolutely. In the GTPs, it's very close between Hugh Haycox and Timothy Reed right now. Only 2 points separating them, with Fabian Jungbluth 12 points back. So a little far back at the moment if Hugh and Timothy continue to have good races today. Antti Lepisto down in 4th, and Laust Olsen only separated by 1 point. That's quite a ways back to Aaron Humphreys, who it's great to see racing right now. Heitor Sintes Galindo, Jack Wells, Ove Trangrade, and Seamus Power round out your top 10. But what about the GTOs, Joey?
Yeah, the GTOs, we got Yuko Leskala up front with 107 points, followed closely by Javier Del Olmo. And then in third, we got Reed Miller, followed by Fabian Seischeg and Ian Haycox, really rounding out the top 5 of the championship battle. But as we see there between Hideki Kovisto, Doug Cloud, Timothy Vaughn, Miro Haraski, and Mark Ole, it's really a battle for 6th place between all 4 of those cars. But we'll see if Yuko Leskala can rebound after a little bit of a strategy miscue at the last round of Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was because it was a 60-minute race then. But if we look at the race details for this race, it's only 40 minutes for round 6 of 12. So this will, at the end of this, they'll be through halfway the season. Open setups, so they can set up the car however they like or dislike today, and no spare car. You got to deal with any damage you collect on this racetrack. A drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25 incidents. And the incidents are pretty easy to pick up around here, Joey.
They are. It is a really, really tight racetrack, like I mentioned. And these cars are pretty big. It's, 3 lanes wide on the front straight, but it narrows down through turn 1, through Wagon Bend, through the chute. And you really have to be careful because all of a sudden you'll find yourself in the grass or even worse in the wall.
So it looks like we're missing Yuko Leskala today, so that's unfortunate for him. That means he will likely lose his championship lead, depending on when they decide to calculate drop points. We'll have to take a look at that come next round. But at the moment, riding on board with Doug Cloud, who's down in 21st in the GTOs right now. At the moment, Javier Del Olmo leads our GTO standings with Reed Miller in 2nd, Timothy Vaughn in 3rd for the qualifying. And at the top of the GTPs, it's Hugh Haycox, followed by Antti Lepisto and Arta Iamaki.
I love riding on board with these cars. This was the era of racing that I feel like I missed personally. These cars, they have such huge turbochargers, really rad aerodynamics, and you see them just kind of suck themselves down to the racetrack. And I think you underestimate how fast these cars really are. I know the Audis have over 700 horsepower out here. Pretty sure the Nissans have about 900 or so. They get moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Nissan, speaking of moving, 57.728 is Hugh Haycox's current pole-sitting time versus a 108.397 from Javier Del Olmo. That is a 10-second difference as far as the time delta between the two classes. And most of that is made up here on the back stretch and also leading onto the front stretch. It's just a really challenging run for all these drivers. Looking at John Nigel right now, who's trying to set a time. And Yuko is here. Look at this. We missed him initially in our read-through, but he's now trying to set his time. He's going to have to beat Javier Del Olmo's time of a 108.397.
Yeah, the championship leader finally sets to the racetrack here. It looks like this is going to be his first lap time on the scoreboard as he rounds turn 10, a very fast corner, tries to put all 700 horsepower down as they rocket down the front straightaway here. We'll see what he comes up with. It looks like now he's going to be starting his first timed lap with only 1 minute and 17 seconds left. It's a good thing that these cars, oh, look at that, fastest lap, 108. He's just a little bit off pace right now. I'm sorry, guys. I am stepping over myself. P1, 108.38 by 1/100th of a second.
Yeah, 14 1,000ths of a second for Yuko Leskala on his first lap. We'll see whether or not the second one's faster. It usually is, as the tires tend to build up temperature for these GTOs as they come around. 50 seconds left to go. And it's going to be interesting to see how all of this works for Yuko Leskala, burning through these... So through yard sale and now through the boot. Gonna come out of the boot through this nice little chicane here that shoots you onto that backstretch. We'll see whether he tackles the last corner with efficiency.
He proved why he's the current championship leader out there. That first lap time puts him straight on top of the board. I want to see how close this second lap is going to be because he was only in front by 1/100th of a second. I'm curious to see if he picks up the pace on his second lap here, as it looks like he does improve his lap time down to a 108.0, currently on provisional pole.
Diego Senzos just sets his qualifying time right as it ends, so a good time for him. But let's take you to the grid for this race, and this is going to start off with Hugh Haycox on pole, Antti Lepisto in second position, Ardo Iamaki is going to line up in third, first on row 2 with Ove Trangerade alongside him. Row 3 is going to start off with Laust Olsen and Mitchell Welker. We got Aitor Sintez Galindo in 7th and Martin Krajcik in 8th. Timu Toika, wow, nice to see Timu back today, and Javier Mascara round out your top 10. Then in the 11th position, it's going to be Seamus Power with Jack Wells in 12th. Aaron Humphreys lining up in the 13th spot with Nico Boris next to him. Brendan Lim in 15th with Gianluca Gabbiani in 16th. Robert Obroda is going to line up in 17th with John Nygren in 18th position, the last of your qualifiers to set a time. And then we've got Carlos Fonseca, Jason Clapper, Zachary Livengood, Jose Garcia, Jeffrey Furcon, and Charlie Hayes, all who did not set qualifying times, rounding out 24 GTPs this race.
Over on the GTO grid, we have our pole sitter Yuko Leskala with that time of a 1:08.044. Next to him is Javier Del Olmo in second. Reed Miller and Timothy Vaughn round out row 2, followed by Hideki Kovisto and Ian Haycox there in row 3. Mark Ole and Doug Cloud, Jamie Hummel-Smith and Mika Tupola round out the top 10 there on row 5. In row 6, we have Daniel Repetto with Nietzsche Cameron, followed by Andreas Nielsen and Emerson Gowden. Diego Ascensos and Jeff Hooper round out the top 16. Steve McLean, Michael Haynes, Daniel Redding, and Marcus Rabicek rounding out the top 20 there on row 10. Looks like there in 21st, we have one more GTO car, that Daniel Engel.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Engel rounding out the 45 cars we have here today. And take a look at this. 85 degrees air temperature, pretty toasty for October. And we got 97 track temperature, so actually a pretty hot day. But look at the winds, Joey. 11 miles per hour out of the west. And I know the cars don't get that faster on this track, but that could still blow around the giant wing machine that is the GTP.
Yes, the little GTPs, you know, they are more affected by the wind out there. That is not a slight breeze. That's a pretty gusty wind out there. We're going to see if it maybe plays havoc in a couple corners and maybe doesn't in others.
Yuko Leskala down in P1 of the GTOs next to Javier Del Olmo. They're only separated by 12 points. And we got Hugh Haycox up there in second position next to Antti Lepisto. Interestingly enough, looking for Timothy Reed, I don't believe I see him here. So that means he's going to lose, he's definitely going to lose places to Hugh Haycox in the championship. So that's definitely something to be concerned about. Now let's take a look at our onboards we have today. We have Doug Cloud, who we saw a little bit of during the beginning of this session, and Ian Haycox as well as Laust Olsen are going to be the people we have on board today. We'll get to them in a moment. But yeah, Joey, it's going to be an interesting race with this many cars on track.
You're right. Summit Point usually sees a lot of cars on track, but the cars are more like Spec Miatas or Spec Racer Fords. When we start putting these really, really fast cars like the Nissan GTPs and the Audi 90 GTOs, it is a totally different dynamic out there as we watch the cars really head down into turn 5 right now on the pace lap. Even side by side, riding along with Laust Olsen here, getting a great cockpit shot of him just kind of nice and calm, cool, collected, no pucker factor yet right now. But I know that it's going to start soon as we see, look, this track gets really narrow. These cars are already single file on the pace lap just to make sure they stay safe out there.
And here we ride on board with Ian Haycox as he's running around and got his pedal cam down there. The one-legged pedal cam for Ian Haycox after his motorcycle accident. He's now driving with an adaptive setup, so awesome to see him out here as usual every week. But up at the front of the field, Hugh Haycox, they're all starting to line up. It's a nice long shot of double file. You can make it 3 wide down this straightaway. It's a challenge, but it's possible. But Hugh Haycox is about to be released by the safety car, at which point he will lead the field to the green. So Hugh Haycox next to Antti Lepisto for the GTPs. There you see the pace car is off. Hugh can take the field at any point that he wants to. He's going to wait as long as he can. He does not want to give the people behind him a good shot on the straightaway. Still waiting, he jumps. Angelo Pisto got a little bit ahead of him, and Hugh Haycox takes that advantage and leaps away. Everyone behind him in the GTP is stringing out a little bit. It's still a little single file for the top 5, but then from back on there, it's quite packed in as we start diving through turn 1. Everyone trying to navigate the bumpy exit of turn 1, but Hugh Haycox leads by a mile down to the GTOs.
Yeah, Yuko Leskala got a great jump out of turn 10 as he leads them single file really into turn 1. The battle right now is between Reed Miller and Timothy Vaughn as they are side by side out of turn 2. Really, we got Javier Del Olmo and Yuko Leskala leading the way in the GTOs.
Nice battles in all the classes, side by side for 6th position in the GTPs between Laust Olsen and Aitor Sintes Galindo. They're able to sort that out, but Laust does not look comfortable in the car. There you see the yellow and blue machine being heavily challenged by Timu Toika down there for the 7th position.
Right now, it looks like a heavy battle up there with Laust Olsen looking back through what we call the 007 camera out of the back of this Nissan GTP as they round out of turn 10, completing lap 1 for the first time.
It's all pretty single file except for Ove Trengere and Nardo Iamaki, who are side by side to turn 1. They're going to actually hold each other up here right now as Nardo Iamaki is able to retain that position over Ove Trengere. Mitchell Welker and Aitor Sintes Galindo looking back at them.
Reed Miller back in GTO actually has a run for 3rd place as they go side by side down the front straight, barreling into turn 1 here at 150 miles an hour. Looks like he's going to think twice as a Nissan GTP comes on from off track and collects an Audi back there, maybe in 6th place or so.
Collects a lot of Audis. That was Doug Cloud that he hit, unfortunately. So this was Charlie Hayes who just spun out in turn 1. We'll keep our eyes on that as we keep watching the battle for the top 5 of the GTOs.
Yes, we have Reed Miller right now under pressure by Ian Haycox. We were right along with Ian a little bit earlier. Great story there, and it looks like they're just going to go side by side here through the carousel, single file now. Things are calming down a little bit more.
That was a gigantic incident that happened. The GTP, unfortunately, of Charlie Hayes just not rejoining safely. This was the 44 of Charlie Hayes, who ended up rejoining off of turn 1, had his own spin in turn 1, but unfortunately not rejoining safely. So now we're seeing on screen Reed Miller battling with Timothy Vaughn. But let's take a look at this. There's the spin. He's trying to get himself back going again, and you'll see him try and rejoin as the rest of the GTOs are coming on track, dip his right wheel into that dirt, collect Doug Cloud, and that's a big traffic jam after that.
You called it. You know, he was just trying to rejoin, and I think he got on the accelerator while the car was still in the dirt, and wheel spin happened, and unfortunately collected a lot of the GTO midfield there. Probably didn't mean anything by it, but definitely messy.
Riding on board with Aitor Sintes Galindo in 6th position as he's taking it through the final turn back onto the front stretch. They get going quite quick down this straightaway, down up to about 172 miles an hour before taking the turn into turn 1. Slamming on the brakes now and into turn 1. Aitor Sintes Galindo has been able to get past Laust Olsen, but hasn't been able to get any further at this point. They're all pretty much single file at this point as our leaders are starting to catch up to the back of the GTOs.
Yeah, we're going to have quite a big mess between GTP and GTO mixed field right now. Really up front, it's still Yuko Leskala in control of the GTO field, followed by Javier Del Olmo. The battle is for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th between Reed Miller, Timothy Vaughn, Ian Haycox, and Mark Ole right now for GTO. As honestly, things are pretty calm, but by calm, I mean maybe a quarter of a second between these cars.
Yeah, this is about as calm as it gets in the Camel series before our leaders in the GTPs get through the GTO traffic. Hugh Haycox, though, is starting to weave through some battles right now into the GTOs. There you see him on screen, already starting to lap the GTOs here on lap 5. You can see just how much more braking authority he has coming into turn 1, trying to find his way around Daniel Redding, who is very much in the middle of the track, able to get by, though.
It's really curious to watch the ebb and flow of these different types of race cars as one Audi goes drifting rallycross style in the background there. These GTPs have such huge amounts of downforce, so in the fast sections of the racetrack, my gosh, they are fast. Look at that closing rate on the Audi, but once they get down to these slower turns, the mechanical grip of that Audi plus the all-wheel drive that it's got, it's actually faster through the slowest parts of this racetrack.
This is the battle for 4th in the GTPs between Ove Trengere, Aitor Sintes Galindo, Mitchell Mitchell Velker and Laust Olsen. Team Utoika is also in that. We were riding on board with a Aitor Sintes Galindo, but look how much trouble the GTPs are having. And who was that off? That was Team Utoika. A big incident. He's lost his front nose.
Yeah, an entire front clip gone off of that thing. Looks like the back is pretty banged up. He's been in the wars with the tire wall as another Nissan GTP goes off on the exit of turn 9 there. So we look at this number 5 machine. Looks like he's going through turn 6 here as everybody really gets on the gas. We'll see what happens. Pretty big bump, a big stack up, accordion. He got checked up, and then you are right, he got sent from behind. That was a stack up incident.
Our leader, Hugh Haycox, is damaged. He just collected damage from an incident. He spun out. He was tucked in behind Emerson Gaudin in the GTOs, got on some of the bumps, and ends up spinning out and getting collected by one of the other GTPs. Sorry, GTOs, that's Nate and Cameron. Let's see this happen. Here he is behind. He gets caught up by Emerson Gaudin, gets spun out, tries to get going again. Nate and Cameron just plows into the back of him, and that means our leader in the points. Oh my goodness, look at the chaos behind.
Chaos is right, Adam. We've talked about it, multi-class racing on such a small racetrack like Summit Point Raceway that's really not suited for these types of cars. We're seeing it rear its head already.
And Hughes in the pits, but the battle for third position in the GTOs very hot between Timothy Vaughn and Reed Miller as they're both side by side coming out of turn 1. They're going to streak down towards the turn 5 in Yardsdale.
Right you are. Reed Miller and Mark Ole side by side through turn 3. Looks like Mark is going to pull that pass over Reed Miller, it seems, and take control as they head down into the chute into turn 5 again.
I can report that Javier Mascara got sent around by Aaron Humphreys in the GTPs. He's back going again, but a little bit slowly as we continue to watch this battle between Reed Miller and Ian Haycox for the 4th position in the GTOs. Tight battles all over the track right now as this track is extremely tight for these drivers.
I love these onboard shots that we're getting. It shows how bumpy this racetrack is as a GTP sneaks up the inside there. Really see the speed difference as these flames shoot out the sides of these cars. Man, these things are just rad out there on this racetrack.
Taking a look at a battle that's trying to cut through this. This is the battle for 2nd position in the GTPs. That's Ardo Iamaki and Ove Trangarade who are trying to duke it out for 2nd position. They're coming up on a slow GTO that the other GTOs are trying to lap around. This is going to really complicate that battle.
It is a traffic jam in turn 1 right now, and that is the 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place battle in GTO that these GTP cars are working through side by side throughout this entire racetrack.
Aitor Sintes Galindo coming up on the back of Ove Trangarade. We're riding on board now with Mitchell Velker as he's trying to cut his way through. Is he going to try to take it around the outside of 4? Yes, he does. And now into 5. He's able to clear the GTOs.
I'm amazed at the speed and the grip that these GTP cars have on those faster sections as they just fly around these GTO cars. A little bit of breathing room for these GTPs right now as it looks like we've got another Audi off to the right.
We started with 45 cars. We are now down to 35. We've already had 10 who've had trouble. And Javier Del Olmo, that's 2nd position in the GTO Championship who's had the problem. You're right, that was a GTO who was off. This is the number 4 car, and he has had a problem.
You're right, that is the number 4 of Javier Del Olmo. He was running smooth in 2nd place as we see what happened here on this replay. We get this orange Audi. Looks like a little bit of contact from that Nissan GTP just sends him off course and into the tires.
That was Ardo Iamaki that got into it, unfortunately. 2 series veterans getting together. A little bit of miscommunication between the GTO and the GTP there. My goodness, this has been a chaotic start to the race, Joey. Look at this chaos that's still going on. Oh, and one GTO go flying off. Who was that? That was Timothy Vaughn from 2nd.
You're right, there's more Audis going flying. Look at that hovercraft drift its way back out onto the racetrack there. The beauty of the Quattro all-wheel drive as we get a replay, it was just chaos down here through turns 1, turn 2, multi-class racing at its finest, Adam.
Yeah, and here's Timothy Vaughn just streaking down towards turn 2. Here's turn 3, gonna arc it in. Oh, clip the grass just a little bit.
Yep, you called it. Was just too far outside, got the right sides on the dirt, and around he went.
Okay, so an update for those who have not been paying attention to the leaderboard, because who can with all the chaos going on? Antti Lapisto currently leads by 2 seconds over Ardo Iamaki and Ove Trangarade in the GTPs. And the GTOs, it's Yuko Leskola up to his old tricks, with Ian Haycox in a good second position, 1 second back from Reed Miller, who's down in third. So those are your top three for both of the classes. We ride on board with our leader, Antti Lapisto, trying to navigate traffic through the boot.
Neither one of these leaders have much breathing room. He's only got about 1.5 seconds as he's got to make his way through this GTP traffic and continue to get to that free and clean racetrack you see out the windshield right now. That's what our leader wants. Let's just breathe a little bit and get some laps done.
That's what everybody wants. I think everyone wants to breathe a little bit and get some laps done, but the people in second, third, and fourth are not able to do that. Ardo Iamaki, Ove Trangarade, and Natro Sintes Galindo are only separated by about 1 second each. Well, 1 second for all of them, actually, as they're racing down towards turn 1. Ove Trangarade in the draft of Ardo Iamaki in the GTPs.
The story of the GTO race so far has just been attrition, keeping your car on the racetrack. Yuko Leskola has done a great job, but if you notice, he's only pulled out about a 2-second gap over second place. I think this traffic is really dictating the lap time that Yuko Leskola can put down, as Ian Haycox and also Reed Miller are staying right in the battle there for the win. Our third place car is only about 2.5 seconds back, maybe 3 seconds back of our leader right now.
Taking a look at Javier Del Olmo, he's got some major right side damage to that machine after his contact with the wall. He's trying to do a recovery drive right now to get the most points as possible. Look at the front bumper. Look at how much that's pushed up for him. That's going to be causing significant aerodynamic damage, and he possibly has lost the drive in that front right wheel.
You bring up a great point. Javier Del Olmo is sitting second place in our points championship for those GTO cars. He's got to salvage as many points as he can out of just a bad day. You got to swallow your pill and take it.
Absolutely. So he's trying to get back up there, but my goodness, that car is not driving well for him. He's very tight, but riding on board with Mitchell Velker right now, looking up at P4, Aitor Sintes Galindo. This is the battle for P3, realistically, with Ove Trangarade just a little bit up the road.
Definitely, we got battles all over the racetrack right now between GTP and P4, also in P4 GTO, but we still ride along here with this GTP battle as they dive down into turn 5. We got another Audi on the outside of the racetrack there as they got to carefully, very carefully tiptoe their way around the traffic. If you look, the racetrack gets really narrow, and we've seen cars off left, right, all over the racetrack so far.
There's Andreas Nielsen, who they're trying to get by as they start streaking by. That's given Ove Trangarade a little bit of breathing room, but Aitor Sintes Galindo is only 0.6 back, so he should be able to draft right up to the back of him by the time they enter turn 1. Probably not enough to attack, but enough to challenge. So P3 battle very hot right now between Trangarade, Sintes Galindo, and Velker. And speaking of a battle, this is still Javier Del Olmo stuck behind Mark Ole. He cannot get by, Joey.
Yeah, Mark Ole is actually sitting, I believe, P4 right now in our race, and Javier Del Olmo back in 25th, but he's just trying to hang on, like we said, collect as many points as he can, but right now this is the closest battle on GTO on the racetrack.
And they've got some GTPs stuck behind him who are going to try and get by on these straightaways. Timothy Vaughn's actually tucked in behind Del Olmo at the moment, looking off the back of Ole towards Del Olmo. You can see the GTP of Joey Garcia trying to get through. He's going to get on the grass and hold up Timothy Vaughn.
Yeah, that is, I'm sorry, that is Del Olmo in for position there in 5th place as this battle rages on down the front straight. We see the GTPs snaking their way through these GTO cars. Braking coming up here in turn 1, heavy braking, probably one of the slowest corners on the racetrack as we see Del Olmo get pushed out wide again.
Yeah, Del Olmo pushed out wide, unfortunately, so he's going to leave that position to Timothy Vaughn. He does jump back on, but P3 of the GTPs is side by side. Aitor Sintes Galindo finally had the draft, and now he's going to try and late break Ove Trangarade into turn 1, able to get it almost done. He's got a little bit of overlap, still just about a nose attached to Galindo is Trangarade, but Galindo able to clear him and force him to brake check a little bit.
Yeah, Mitchell Velker has a great view of this battle of these 3 GTPs dive down into 4, into 5 for another lap around this yard sale area of the racetrack. Ooh, looks like that lead car very loose out there, and he's going to have to relinquish that position.
Aitor Sintes Galindo trying to hang on to it, forcing Ove Trangarade to take the wide line around, which the GTPs do not want to do. Able to hang on to it well. Aitor Sintes Galindo from Ove Trangarade, from Mitchell Velker, all of this for the 3rd position.
That's kind of the weak point of the racetrack, is that really, really slow mechanical grip area, and it just kind of caught the number 11 car out there as they almost run into the back of an Audi coming out of turn 10, rocket down the front straightaway again.
Emerson Gowden getting passed by this battle. Is Ove Traeger going to take a look? Yes, he is. He's going to look to the inside of turn 1, but he's not going to late break. Oh, he's going to get a little bit locked up. Rear's locked up on that GTP as he tries to get around. Mitchell Velker now trying to put the pressure on Ove Traeger and make him make another mistake. Possibly take a look on the inside of 4. That would be a stretch. Thinks better of it.
This is a great battle between these 3 GTPs as they are not letting anybody get away right now. It is nose to tail between 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the racetrack.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got a little bit of clear track right now, about a quarter of a lap of clear track before they catch up to the battle for the 5th position in the GTOs between Mark Olay, Timothy Vaughn, and Javier Del Olmo. So they've got a little bit of work to do. But that battle, they're going to catch it. Oh, we've just had a wreck from a GTP up ahead of them. That was Javier Del Olmo. Who was that? That was Arno Yamaki. That was 2nd position.
Yes.
Introsintas Galina goes by. Arno Yamaki falls back to 3rd.
It's tough to tell. These orange cars look very similar out there. That was one of our lead cars, but thankfully he's got it back on the racetrack and in the draft down the front straightaway.
And this is the battle for 2nd in the GTPs, overtaking the battle for 4th in the GTOs. None of these people in these groups want to give positions. Let's take a look at what happened here to Ardo. Wow, that was a ride for him.
I think there might have just been a little bit of front to rear contact between a GTO car that he thought he was clear, and thankfully he kept it pointed in the right direction. Wow, what a save. Check this out from on board.
There he goes by Javier, and oh, Javier looks like he might have lost it a little bit on the outside. My goodness, that was a save from Ardo, and he only lost 1 position.
Amazing driving right there. I have my jaw on the floor. Great job keeping it pointed the right way.
Looks like Martin Kraytrick has gotten into the back of one of the GTOs. That was Mark Olay that he got into the back of. He's now recovered and going once again. But look at this battle for 2nd. It's tight between these GTPs.
You're right there, going by the P2 battle of GTO right now as well. They're going down this front straight at over 170 miles an hour, taking a look down the inside as they're hard on the brakes going into turn 1.
Mitchell Velker with a little bit of overlap on Ove Traeger. They're now side by side for P4 behind this leading pair as they're trying to duke it out with these guys. Martin Kraytrick back on track battling with Jason Clapper in 10th position as well. There's action all over this track as we ride on board with Velker again.
Yeah, Velker's definitely taking a nose down the inside of 4 here. This could end in tears, but they keep to their own side of the racetrack. This is tricky with this Audi in front of them.
That's Yuko Leskala.
We're going to see how they're going to play this chess match, if you will.
This is our leader, Yuko Leskala, who they're trying to get by. The leader of the GTOs. They don't want to wreck the leader of the GTOs, but they need to get by. Yuko just sticks to the left side and makes sure that they can do so.
I think Yuka has a great head on his shoulders there. He has got a 4-second lead to P2 in his class. He kind of pulled over to the side of the racetrack, says, I don't want no part of this.
Look at this chaos. Tons of GTPs going off track there. That was some chaotic moments. I believe that was John Newen who just went off track a little bit there. And my goodness, these GTPs just trying to stay out of trouble. The GTOs just trying to stay out of the GTP's way at this point, trying to avoid getting wrecked themselves. I can report Martin Kraytrick has come to the pits for some repairs.
It's been busy all over this racetrack. I don't think that there's been a clean lap yet as we ride along once again with 5th place Mitchell Velker out here as he dives down into turn 5. Loving the flames spitting out the back of these cars. And I mentioned that this is the slowest area of the racetrack. This is actually where the GTP cars struggle the most with the grip. They like the high-speed aerodynamics when it can help the car.
Velker doing a good job of clinging to the back of Ove Traeger. Hopefully he can ride Ove Traeger back up to Ardo Iamaki, who's cleared them by about 1.5 seconds due to the traffic. But the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh away. And speaking of the traffic taking away, take a look at this, the battle for 6th. Seamus Power, Aaron Humphrey, and Jack Wells.
As they round turn 10, as they go out onto the front straight. Once again, that exit is so crucial.
Oh!
Tucked up in the draft as we got somebody coming out of pit road. Video game move down the front straightaway. Looks like everybody keeps it clean out there.
Alrighty, and that's John Nygren who's going to go off a little bit, and as well as the GTO Daniel Rapetta. Oh my goodness, John coming back on track and collecting more drivers. We saw this the 2nd lap, and we're seeing it now on lap 19.
Multiple cars turned around there in turn 1. I'm sure we'll get a replay here of this as it looks like a GTP car came down into turn 1, got turned around, and just chaos after that.
That's John Nygren, who puts on the brakes and goes a little bit wide into turn 1, and instead of locking it down, tries to get back on track, puts the power in, and then crosses right in front of Martin Krajcik, who just came out of the pits from getting some damage repaired, and that collected the 18 of Daniel Repetto, as well as Marcus Rybarczyk in the GTOs.
As we catch back up with our GTP battle as they go down the front straight, more dive bombs going down into turn 1. That's the 13 making a move on the 11-4 position.
That's such close stuff. Oh my goodness. And Ove Trigger backs out of it after Mitchell Velker crowds him a little bit off of the track there. So Ove having to back off. But now look at this battle for 6th position. Seamus Power under heavy pressure from Aaron Humphries. Aaron's going to take a look on the inside of 4.
There is non-stop action here at this Camel GT race at Summit Point Raceway. Riding along with our 2nd place GTP runner out the back, taking a look at 3rd place, just hunting him down through turn 6, turn 7 as they come out onto the faster section of this racetrack.
Absolutely. So a good drive right now from Aitor Sintes-Blondo to try and get away from Ardo Iamaki. Trying to do so, but it's hard press. Oh, we got a spinner. Who is that was going off? That's the 12 of Aaron, the 22 rather of Aaron Humphries. Just got in a little bit too deep as they were all tucked in behind a GTO.
Gets it back on the racetrack. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle as the car goes past there. You know, it shows how dirty these tires can get when they go off track. You got to get it all cleaned up. It's still pretty sketchy as we ride on board here with Timothy Vaughn. He's in the midst of a battle, a GTO battle, as they come out of turn 6, 7, and 8.
The battle for P4 between Marco Le, Javier Del Olmo, and Timothy Vaughn as Carlos Fonseca streaks by in a GTO. Here comes Gianluca Gabbiani as well. This is going to be stressful. This penultimate corner is high speed for both classes. Timothy Vaughn with a good advantage on Javier Del Olmo that time around because Javier got cut off by Gianluca Gabbiani. This sticks Robert Abroda right in behind them. The road is blocked for Abroda. He has to wait for this GTO battle to conclude.
It is a total chess match out there between these cars in some of these corners. They say, you know, I can't afford to let a GTP car sneak up the outside there or inside, as we see a GTP car off on the exit of 2 there, but it really is all about placing your car where you need it.
As Mitchell Velker, who unfortunately spun on his own, he's getting back going. We don't need a replay of that one particularly. Javier Del Olmo just slid it through turn 4. He's now under heavy pressure from Timothy Vaughn once again.
You're right, Timothy Vaughn is not letting go of this battle. It may be 24th on the racetrack, but it looks like it's about 4th. 5th place in GTO in class right now. He's just trying to do whatever he can to keep this car tucked up the inside. As we see, Javier Del Olmo still has that damage, you know, really driving a wounded race car in front.
Yeah, he is, and that's definitely putting some heavy pressure on Timothy Vaughn right in the wheel tracks of Javier. But can he get a good run onto the back stretch? He does, but is it too close? Is he going to get enough of a draft to be able to overtake? Let's see what happens here.
I think that he's also sporting a little bit of damage on that right front fender that I see, so maybe things have leveled themselves a little bit, but great job on the brakes there going into turn 1. He's going to take that inside line and claim the position.
This is a nightmare for Javier's points championship. He keeps falling back. He just does not have the pace in that car to hang on. They got Antilopisto, the leader of the race, tucked in behind them, and Javier can barely control the car right now.
He is doing a great job just trying to hang on as our GTP leader works his way through that 5th place battle of GTO, just trying to keep everything on the racetrack, keep it calm, cool, and collected at his desk in there.
Absolutely, it very much is a desk in the Nissan GTP. Apparently, it feels spacious inside there with the dome, with the dome cockpit for you. But my goodness, it does not feel spacious on this track at all. Look at how tight everybody is. There are 45 cars to start this race, Joey, and we're not going to have that many left by the end.
No, we're not, as we see another Audi pointed the wrong way coming out of turn 10 there. It's just kind of been a natural thing. It's almost like a twister game, you know, spin the wheel and see what happens.
So a couple of our 10 drivers who had troubles early are back going once again, but we've replaced them with another 3 drivers who have had problems. So, and people continue to have problems out on track all over the place. So, still with 10 drivers who are not running at the moment. But look at this battle for 8th position between Brendan Lim, Aaron Humphries, and Mitchell Velker. Aaron Humphries and Mitchell Velker, both of them have had troubles that have sent them back farther in the field. Brendan Lim, however, is racing in position.
Yes, this is the best battle in GTP on the racetrack in terms of closeness for position, as they're too wide coming out of turn 2. Big contact, big hip check, as we see a flash of the lights from the 22. He did not appreciate that.
He's now got major front end damage on both sides of that car. That's going to slow him down significantly. Aaron Humphries, unfortunately, falling back. Oh my goodness, but Mitchell Velker had his own, Brendan Lim had his own issue tucked in behind the GTO of Marcus Rybarczyk. My goodness, I'll get it right someday. Rybarczyk. I believe he was giving that position back to Aaron Humphries.
It's amazing watching these cars at this racetrack. The best way I can describe it is they're almost like slot cars on a track out there, and when they overstep their boundaries, they just lose all sorts of momentum, and cars can just rocket by for position.
And look at this, back on board with Javier Del Olmo as he's tucked in with a battle for P4 in the GTOs. Marco Lay has had a little bit of an off himself that has brought him back into this battle. Laust Olsen, who's not having a good day himself, 21st position after some damage. Look at this, Javier Del Olmo going for a move on Timothy Vaughn. Vaughn trying to hang on to it, but oh my goodness, quite wide through 4.
Vaughn really got checked up there, and that cost him all of his momentum, and Javier Del Olmo capitalized on it, and you're right. Big understeer from Vaughn as he just barely misses the back bumper of Del Olmo as he completed that pass.
You know, as messy as this race is, there's some really impressive driving going on right now over the course of this race. Tons of drivers utilizing the maximum of grip in these old 80s and 90s machines. My goodness, and here comes a little bit of a holdup for Jeffrey Furcon and Jason Clapper as well, as they're trying to sneak their way through this battle. This is going to bring Mitchell Velker back into it as he's catching up to the back of Clapper, but he has to put on the brakes because there's nowhere to go.
It's all ebb and flow out there. You mentioned it earlier, the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh away from you. It works both ways out there, and we're seeing it.
So Jason Clapper is trying to get going once again, tucked in behind. We're riding on board with Timothy Vaughn as he watches the GTP streak away. That's Mark Olay. Look at this battle for position. Oh my goodness, that's pushed quite wide as Timothy Vaughn by Javier Del Olmo through 4.
It's not the first time that we've seen a car off on the exit of 4 there. It looks like he just got his right sides in the dirt, couldn't turn in, and off he went into the gravel. But thankfully that Audi Quattro all-wheel drive is going to save him, and he's back on the track.
A little bit of front to rear contact there from Mitchell Velker on Mark Olay, a GTO and GTP nose to tail contact. And that's not going to bother the GTO at all. That's definitely going to damage the GTP's front end if he's not careful.
You're right. It is still a battle for P4 on the racetrack here with Javier Del Olmo trying to hunt down cars in front of him after struggling and having big contact with that right side in front of this race car. This is a championship story for him, and he's just got to salvage all of the points that he can.
Absolutely. Antti Lapisto leads by about 7.5 seconds over Aitor Sentes Galindo. Ardo Iamaki, another 2.5 seconds back of him for the top 3 in the GTOs. And then we've got Yuko Leskala leading by about 7.5 seconds over Reed Miller, with Ian Haycox back by about 3 seconds to round out your top 3 there. Here's Mitchell Velker, 8th position, trying to overtake Jason Clapper for 7th in the GTPs.
Mitchell Velker has definitely been in the thick of it all race tonight. And just to set the grid or set the scene a little bit here in GTOs, Yuka Leskala is really running away with it right now. He's got over a 7.5 second lead over our second place Reed Miller, but that battle in GTO is still for that 3rd, 4th, 5th place position. So we got Mark Olay, Javier Del Olmo, and Tim Vaughn still racing it out on the racetrack, as we got Yuko Leskala clearly just leading the way right now, the class of the field in the GTOs.
A great job from him for sure. And we take a look at our leader, Antti Lapisto. This is Jason Clapper, who is in 8th position on the back of Mitchell Velker. My goodness, these two just cannot seem to get separated today.
I think that there's quite a few cars that can say that. It just seems like Velcro is attached to the bumpers, and when it's not Velcro, it's a rubber band.
They go past Yuko Leskala, our leader in the GTO. Multi-class, 10 seconds per lap is quite a big delta, and we're seeing the consequences of those who are not considerate of that today.
You're right. There's quite a big speed difference in some of the areas of this racetrack, as it looks like we go back on board with Javier Del Olmo as he's still trying to hunt down Mark Olay there for our 3rd, 4th position. Olay just slides a little bit wide. Del Olmo's really been nailing his marks. We got a GTP off in front of him. Doesn't seem to affect the battle too much.
I believe that was Nico Boris from 12th position, but my goodness, Javier Olmo just cannot put the car where he wants it. The thing is too tight because of the front end damage that he has. He's just having to trust that Marco Le's going to make a mistake. Look at him take it up the inside here of the penultimate turn. The final turn coming through. Unfortunately, that's going to put him with a little bit of a speed disadvantage. I don't believe he'll gain it back enough into turn 1. Let's see.
Adam, you've got a great eye. You are right. It's the damage that is holding Javier Del Olmo back right now. We're seeing him do everything. He's hit all of his marks out there with the exception of that one little mistake earlier that I wouldn't even call his mistake, that he just kind of got turned by a GTP car and got damage resulting because of it. But he's been able to hit all of his marks, and that's what's forced him to really climb his way back up into contention here.
Marco Le and Javier Del Olmo, look at him. Javier just trying to hang on to that car right now, trying to make as many positions as he can. The car's just not very happy at the moment as they dive into yard sale one more time. We haven't seen that many yard sales here today, Joey, but quite a few in other places as we cross under 10 minutes to go.
Yard sale is not happening at yard sale because I think all the trains are off of the tracks by the time they get there already, because we got more Audis off in the background. Right on board, I believe this is our leader, Antti Lepisto, working his way through traffic, being very patient as he's got a lapped GTP that he can't be too aggressive with, but he's also got to get by.
Yeah, absolutely. So Antti Lepisto taking it down the front stretch. He's got Javier Del Olmo and Marco Le, the battle that we have been watching, as well as Gianluca Gabbiani up ahead of him. And Antti Lepisto just trying to navigate the traffic effectively. Gianluca Gabbiani gives him the room. Antti Lepisto's through clean. Oh, look at this. Javier taking a look once again.
Yes, this is the best battle right now on the racetrack. Javier Del Olmo is not letting Vaughn get out of his sight right now. He's only got 9 minutes left, but that's about 9 laps, maybe 8 laps on this racetrack as he gets squeezed by that GTP going into yard sale there.
Absolutely forces him wide. Oh, no! Contact between Javier Del Olmo and Carlos Fonseca. This is going to slow him down significantly. Timothy Vaughn trying to come back at him now. My goodness. Javier just can't catch a break today. Unfortunately, Carlos Fonseca on the outside. He expected Carlos to try and go around Marco Le, and that's not what happened.
No, that is not what happened. And Javier Del Olmo, you said, can't catch a break as he dives for pit road. I think he says, you know what, this damage is just too much for me to stay safe on the racetrack. Okay, he's getting a drive-through for incident points out there. Swallow the pill, get back out there, and try to collect points.
Yeah, unfortunately himself, Zachary Livengood also has a black flag at the moment, so quite a few drivers starting to follow those incident points. But P6 in the GTP starting to heat up between Jack Wells, Mitchell Velker, and Jason Clapper again.
These cars, as they go down the front straight here, 170 plus miles an hour, hard on the brakes down to, I believe, second gear in these GTP cars. Through turns 1 and 2, accelerate really all the way back up, and then really sweeping turn 4 here, really tricky to get, especially with mixed class traffic in front of you.
Absolutely, that's Jeff Hooper, who's got a very second-hand Audi that he's driving at the moment. Mitchell Velker is going to look up the inside. He has no choice. He hits the back of Daniel Engel, unfortunately, through turn 5. That's going to add to his front-end damage, but I don't think it can get much worse for Mitchell on the front end at this point. Jason Clapper looking on the back of it.
You're right, there's quite a bit of damage on the nose of that Nissan GTP of Mitchell Welker as we ride on board with 8th place Jason Clapper here. Diving down into turn 10, aggressive move from the Nissan in front as Jason decides to really capitalize on the run coming out of turn 10.
No surprise to see an aggressive move from Mitchell Velker as he is probably just furious at this point, driving with steam coming out his ears over the course of this race. But Yuko Leskala with 11 seconds over second place Reed Miller, as most of the competitors have just literally fallen away over the course of this race for Yuko, and he just needs to focus on keeping it clean. He's got a lot of time he can give away if things start to look fuzzy around him.
You're right. You know, I call it situational awareness. You always have to be aware of what's going on behind you, because you can get collected from other cars out there on the racetrack when you're doing absolutely nothing wrong. And when you got over a 12-second gap to second place, keep your head on a swivel.
Absolutely. So Yuko Leskala just going to try and take an easy move through turn 1. We jump back to that battle for P7. Mitchell Velker with Jason Clapper tucked in behind him. Clapper does not have a lot of damage, and Volker's front nose is severely damaged. So Clapper going to take an opportunity into one here, but they've got a GTO ahead of them, Mark Olay. This could make things interesting.
Looks like Mitchell Welker is not going to allow him to come over, but really the 23 has the better straight line speed and claims the position even before turn 1.
So Mitchell unfortunately has to concede that position. The front nose just too damaged right now, really reducing his top speed. Oh my goodness, quite a few. Oh my goodness, who was that who just got a little bit loose down there? I believe that was Welker who got a little loose coming off of 4, but fortunately able to hang on to it.
That car is definitely pointing about 6 different ways of bodywork right now. He has been in the wars, and I know that we got 5 minutes left here in the GTPs. That's about 5 minutes as we ride along board with our leader, Antti Lepisto, as he completes another lap here. Going around turn 4, nice and smooth. Got another Audi in front of him, but going to clear him nicely here going down into turn 4.
Yeah, it should be 5 to go this time around, considering they're doing about 1 minute flats on average. So it's unlikely that Antti will be able to beat the clock on this one. So likely 5 to go for these drivers.
Looks like still got a battle here as we're following along with the number 11, Ole Trengrade, as he's trying to hunt down 3rd place of Ardo. And this is the best GTP battle that I'm seeing right now through this slower 6, 7, 8 section as they start to accelerate towards turn 10.
Looks like someone might have blown their engine ahead of these guys. We'll keep our eyes on who just dropped into the pits. But Ardo Iamaki, he looks like he's down a little bit on straight line speed, and Ove Trengrade still has a fairly clean car considering all the incidents he's been involved in, closing quickly on 3rd place Ardo Iamaki.
This is going to be a battle for the last place of the podium on the GTP battle. As we ride on board with our 4th place, Ove Trengrade, he's just got to be patient, pick his line right now. You mentioned that the car in front might have a little bit more damage, so just kind of see where your car is faster and where you can be more aggressive.
Yeah, Ardo Iamaki has a little bit of front left damage as well as side left damage that he's carrying from one of the incidents. He was one of the cars that we saw into the tire barrier exiting this next corner here as they're trying to navigate around Mika Tupola. Mika being very generous, giving them a good amount of room and clear communication that he's staying over to the left. Ove Trengrade and Ardo Iamaki streak by. I think, Joey, this is going to be Ardo's best chance.
You're right, this is coming out of turn 10, the longest straightaway here on the front straight, and he actually gets checked up a little bit coming out of turn 10. That's going to give him the run going down the front straightaway. He's going to be down the inside going into turn 1.
Ardo Iamaki tries to late brake Ove Trengrade, but he can't get it turned in. The right front locks up, and that's going to be the position to Ove Trengrade. Move Trengrade up into 3rd.
Yes, Trengrade takes that last podium position. Iamaki just with that little bit of lockup cost so much momentum. Look at how much this gap has already grown.
Absolutely. So he's now up 2 seconds over Ardo Iamaki just because of that mistake from Iamaki through turn 1. Riding on board with Jason Clapper, who's trying to chase down Jack Wells for 6th position in the GTPs right now. Up the inside of Andreas Nielsen that they pass in the GTOs. A little bit of a wiggle from the back end of Jason Clapper's machine as he tries to get that thing through the boot cleanly. Jack Wells looking a little vulnerable right now.
Yes, he is. We're not missing anything in GTO. It's still pretty stagnant there with Leskala leading Miller over Haycox, over Ole, over Vaughn is your top 5 as we continue riding along with this GTP battle. Out of turn 10 onto the front straight. They're going to take it 3 wide as they go down the front straight.
A little bit sketchy, but I don't think Jack Wells is going to battle this too hard. Let's see how hard he puts on the brakes. Nah, Clapper covers him off, able to get past Daniel Angle on the entry of 1, and that's going to move Jason Clapper up to 6th. He's got 7 seconds up to Seamus Power up ahead of him, so this is likely where he's going to finish if he keeps Jack Wells behind him.
Jason Clapper's done a great job. We've seen a couple moves out of him already, just kind of working his way up through the field tonight and already up into the 6th position.
Lepisto's crossing the line with 2 to go for him right now as we look at our leader in the GTPs. Riding on board with him, he's got a fairly clean track ahead of him, about half a lap of clean track, well, probably a whole lap of clean track up ahead of him. So he's got Jeffrey Furcon, Ian Haycox, and Reed Miller to get by, but none of them are in battles for position at the moment.
Yeah, as the number 16 rounds out of turn 10 there, we watch him go down the front straightaway, catch the draft off of another car. Jack Wells trying to fight for that 6th place position, poke a nose down the inside, maybe catch this car by surprise, maybe help him miss a brake marker.
Absolutely. So still putting pressure on Clapper is Wells. And it looks to me, I'm just keeping my eyes on Antilopisto. He's trying to be very, very cautious right now. He's got a 6-second gap back to Heitor Sintes Galindo, and Jeffrey Furcon and Ian Haycox were not really navigating the track very well, but white flag this time for Antilopisto as he crosses the stripe.
You're right, only one more lap to go for our Nissan GTP leader as he goes down the front straight into turn 1. A little bit of a roadblock in front of him. He just has to navigate it carefully. He's only got 5.5 seconds in front, so a little bit of time, but not a whole lot.
Look at this, Timothy Vaughn trying to trick out Marco Lay, who took it too deep into turn 1, but he just can't get down the power, can't get through the gearbox fast enough to challenge Marco Lay. P4, the GTO's close. Oh, Timothy takes it too deep into 4, slides it through the Rally Heritage, the Audi coming to save him.
Gotta love that Audi Quattro all-wheel drive there, really power sliding it through turn 4 as these GTPs are trying to make their way through. Les, our leader, is still trying to pick his way through this GTP traffic. Looks like he's just kind of settle in behind there and ride out these last few turns.
I can report that Jason Clapper unfortunately had a self-spin that took him off wide through the boot, so unfortunately he's going to lose 5th to Seamus Power, but Antilopisto's going to lose nothing. He's going to take home the win today in the GTP class.
Yeah,
Lescala still has about half a full lap to go almost.
Yes, the GTP race just ended, but our GTO leader is actually just going into turn 3 right now. He's in a commanding spot right now as it really looks like our 2nd place Reed Miller has already finished the race. So this almost looks like a victory lap for Yuka Lescala as he gives a big power slide, and I think we're going to see some drifting out of him right now.
I can report that Brendan Lim got into the back of Javier Mascara, and unfortunately that caused him to lose the position to Brendan Lim, so that's unfortunately going to be a position lost for Mascara as he was crossing the line. But here is Yuka Lescala alone on the lead lap, just drifting through the final couple of turns. I'll see whether or not he puts a drift on through the final turn. It's a hard thing to do in the Audi. He puts it on, and he puts it on in style. A great drift through the final corner. Plus the little wheel on the grass, and he's going to drift it across the line to take home the win once again in the GTO class. A good recovery from last week.
As we see him take the Caddyshack route up over the barriers there. Congratulations there, Yuka Lescala, on the GTO win.
Well, we're going to take a short break here on the GSRC, but do not go away. We're going to have unofficial results as well as some interviews shortly after the break. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to round 6 of the Camel GT series here on GSRC, and my goodness, did we have a barn burner today. Antti Lapisto comes home with the win by 6 seconds over Heitor Sintes Galindo, with Ove Trangerade tucked in behind him in third. Shortly behind him is in fourth Ardo Iamaki, with Seamus Power in 5th position. That is a great race for Seamus Power to pick up a top 5. Jack Wells comes home in 6th position, with Jason Clapper coming home in 7th after having a little bit of an issue in the final couple of laps. Mitchell Velker was all over the track today, unfortunately. Just pushed wide, had some incidents, fell back to 8th position, and that's as far as up as he could get. Aaron Humphreys comes home in 9th, and Brendan Lim in the 10th position. Javier Mascara finishing off in 11th, with Gianluca Gabbiani after some incidents himself, the first car lap down in the 12th position. Robert Abroda in 13th, with Nico Boris in 14th, Jeffrey Furkan 15th. Then we get 2 laps down, Jose Garcia, Zachary Livengood, Carlos Fonseca, Martin Kraytrick, and Laus Olsen. And that's pretty much all the drivers who finished the race. But then we have John Nygren, Timu Toika, and the big story is Hugh Haycox with an early incident taking him out of this race. That's a huge points implication today. And then Charlie Hayes was our last driver who did not finish.
Over on the GTO field, another race dominated by Jukka Leskala, taking home the win here at Summit Point Raceway. Second place, Reed Miller, followed up by Ian Haycox and Mark Ole. Timothy Vaughn is going to round out the top 5 in the GTO field. Javier Del Olmo was the big story of the race here in GTO. Big points implications, just trying to hang on there in 6th place. Followed by Mika Tupolo, Andreas Nielsen, Steve McLean, and Daniel Repetto in 10th place. Then we got 11th, Daniel Engel, 12th, Daniel Redding, 13th, Marcus Rabachik, 14th, Jeff Hooper. Rounding out the top 15, Doug Cloud. We got Nathan Cameron there in 16th, Emerson Godden, Michael Haynes, Diego Ascensos, and Hideki Kovisto there in 20th place. One more car, 21st, Jamie Hummel-Smith, quite a few laps down there. That's going to round out the entire GTO field.
Well, we got 2 second-place finishers to talk to today. The first being Heitor Sintes Galindo. Heitor, my goodness, we're breathing hard up here in the booth. How crazy was it down there on the track for you?
Well, I just saying that after dropping my phone, I just drank half a bottle of water after this race. My goodness, was it tough today? But yeah, fantastic result for me. The P2 was everything I could hope for, honestly. After if Antti didn't make a mistake, it was his result. So yeah, very happy with the result after all.
And a relatively clean car to boot. Tons of attrition over the course of this race. How did you keep your nose out of trouble today?
Well, a very good question. Honestly, I think today was a combination of luck and experience because many other drivers maybe had like a lot of mistakes, but also being in the wrong place and the wrong time. All that sort of stuff happens most of the time. But yeah, I would say that it's experience because I ran this place 3 times. I don't want to race another one, but that's another story. But yeah, it's pretty much that's it.
I mean, Aitor, it was great to see you up there battling with Ove Trangrave, with Arda Iamaki. I mean, so many good battles over the course of this race. How challenging is it to do those battles in and amongst the GTOs who are also just trying to hang on out there?
I would say today was the setup. I mean, I don't know, but today the break into turn 1 was absolutely perfect, and I could nail every single braking point in there, and I think was the key to overtake Nissans today. And yeah, was a lot of reaction times as well, being able to improvise and say, okay, this guy is gonna stay behind the Audi, let's get a good run from behind. And that's it, really. Today was a lot of experience, I would say, a lot of being aware, and after all, a lot of luck. And yeah, today was a good day after all.
Well, Aitor, congratulations on your second place finish. Is there anyone you want to thank today?
Absolutely. You guys, as usual, for the broadcast, family and friends are watching on the Camel community. As usual, great community. And thanks, everybody. See you next week.
That was Aitor Santos Glendo, your second place finisher in the GTPs. And Joey Atterbury has caught up with Reed Miller, who finished in second in the GTOs.
Yeah, Reed, congratulations on the second place finish tonight in the GTO class. Now that the race is over, you got a little bit of time to breathe out there. How busy was the racetrack for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a very crowded track out there today. There was very few laps where you were dealing with traffic of one kind or another. So yeah, definitely a high attention race for sure.
Now, I know that you qualified up front there, I believe, third. You never really let go of the front battle, but you had quite a few challenges out there. What was the key to the race to moving up into that second position and keeping hold of it?
Well, mostly a lot of luck. I think basically everyone I was racing against came out on the wrong end. I was having a good battle with Ian, but then he got caught up with the GTP. I'm not sure what happened to Javier or Timothy. They both got knocked off the track some way. So yeah, mostly just keeping my nose clean and trying not to get in anyone's way too bad.
Well, Reed, I know that we're going to be heading to Belle Isle next. Is that a track that maybe suits you a little bit better or maybe a little bit worse than the one that we just raced here at Summit Point?
It's pretty similar. I like Belle Isle, so I'm looking forward to that. It's probably even somehow easier than this track to deal with traffic, because this one, like the Sector 2, had such a slow bunch of corners where there's basically very little chance for the GTPs to make a pass, so it ends up being a kind of a traffic jam, where Belle Isle is a bit more open, even though it's got tight walls. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, once again, Reed, congratulations on your second place finish here in the GTO class. Is there anybody that you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
As always, thanks to my pit crew here, and just want to say thanks to the whole community. Take care, guys.
Awesome, Reed. Well, hopefully we'll see you next time. And Adam, that's going to do it for our GTO interviews. Right on back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to actually do it for our show today. And it's been a good one. It's been a challenge. But my goodness, what a fantastic race we had today. I want to give a thank you to our team today, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media website merchandise store that are up here on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race for these guys is Detroit, Saturday, October 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have a couple of other races with these cars happening tomorrow. Both of the Majors series are going to be running these cars at the Daytona Road Course as well. So don't forget to make sure to see that one as well. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.